The most sophisticated systems do not fight for attention aggressively. They make distraction unnecessary. They remove friction. They shorten intervals. They anticipate hesitation. And gradually, they reduce the distance between impulse and action. When the interval shrinks, reflection weakens. When reflection weakens, patterns stabilize. And stabilized patterns are far more powerful than commands. This is not coercion. It is calibration. Digital systems are built upon feedback loops. Every click sends a signal. Every pause generates data. Every hesitation refines the next suggestion. The system adapts. Not to control you directly, but to increase the probability that you remain engaged. Engagement is not neutral. Engagement directs exposure. Exposure shapes perception. Perception influences evaluation. Evaluation guides behavior. And behavior, repeated consistently, becomes identity. Notice how subtle this progression is. No decree is issued. No order is signed. Yet preferences evolve. Attention narrows. Certain narratives become familiar. Others become distant. Over time, familiarity feels like truth. Not because it was declared true, but because it was repeatedly present. This is architectural efficiency. When environments are designed correctly, power does not need to argue. It only needs to curate. And curation at scale becomes structural influence. But digital attention is only the visible example. The principle is older. Long before algorithms, institutions understood this logic. Educational curricula structure exposure. Urban planning structures movement. Financial incentives structure risk-taking. Legal frameworks structure possibility. In each case, behavior is not forced. It is channeled. And channels create directions without requiring pressure. This is the deeper architecture of attention. It is not about screens. It is about probability. Every system operates by increasing the likelihood of certain outcomes. When probabilities are shaped consistently over time, patterns emerge. When patterns emerge, stability follows. And stability is the true objective of structural power. Force is expensive. Surveillance is inefficient. Constant intervention is unsustainable. Design, however, is durable. Once the architecture is in place, it operates continuously, quietly, often invisibly. This is why modern systems rarely appear authoritarian. They do not need to restrict movement openly. They shape orientation. They do not silence alternatives. They amplify some more than others. And amplification, repeated daily, becomes environment. An environment does not feel imposed. It feels normal. And normality is the most stable form of influence. Power rarely announces itself. It does not always appear as command. More often, it appears as environment. An environment structured carefully enough that behavior aligns without instruction. When attention is directed consistently, exposure narrows. When exposure narrows, perception stabilizes. When perception stabilizes, decisions feel natural. And when decisions feel natural, power no longer needs to intervene. This is the quiet advantage of architectural design. It operates before awareness. It precedes debate. It shapes probability long before outcomes are visible. Digital systems did not invent this logic. They accelerated it. They refined it. They scaled it. But the principle is ancient. Design the structure, and behavior will follow. In the first episode, we examined how power is constructed before it becomes visible. Here, we see the next layer. Once constructed, power does not need constant force. It needs continuity. Continuity of exposure. Continuity of incentives. Continuity of orientation. When those elements remain aligned, systems stabilize. And stability is often mistaken for neutrality. But neutrality is rarely neutral. It is structured. This does not mean attention is stolen. It means attention is shaped. And shaping, repeated daily, becomes architecture. The most durable systems are not those that command loudly. They are those that calibrate quietly. They do not demand obedience. They design conditions. And within those conditions, behavior becomes predictable. Predictability reduces resistance. Reduced resistance reduces the need for visible authority. And when authority no longer needs to appear, it becomes more powerful. Because the most efficient form of power is the one that feels like choice.